Welcome back to the hangar. I wasn't sure how to start this episode. A lot of things have taken place. I've spoke to some people, experts, real experts, and discovered a couple of things. Discovered some very important things. You see, I've made some assumptions, and I've made those assumptions based on my previous experience working with engines, both four-stroke, two-stroke, motorcycle, automotive, what have you. And I thought, I kind of know what I'm doing, and I do. But in conversation with Bob Robertson from Light Engine Services in Salmon Arm, BC, who's the Rotax guru for most of North America. You know, there's a few others, but he's one of the guys that really knows what he's talking about. He's the guy that I've been dealing with for materials for the engine and then specialty tools. Well, I spoke to him about a couple of my concerns, one of them being that oil reservoir, and he has an option for me, and I'll discuss that in a minute. And then I told him about, what I was planning on doing, and he stopped me right away, and he said, "Whoa, hold your horses." Now, what I told him was I was going to do an engine run up on there and do a vacuum balance on the carburetors. And he said, first off, you don't need to do that. He says there is a way of doing it mechanically that gets you 99.999% perfect. He says you don't need to worry about a spinning prop, that kind of stuff. And he's going to send me a link to a video that they made that shows that process. And I said, great, that's excellent. He said it's very easy to do. Just follow the steps. And he described it to me, and I'm going, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I could easily follow along with what he was saying. So, but then he had a huge warning for me. You see, he had a warning with regards to me starting up my engine. And I said, yeah, I'm going to do a startup on the engine. I'm going to put the redrive on, and when I told him about the vacuum balance, and he first explained to me that I don't need to do that. And then he gave me a very stern warning, and he explained why. And he went into a story about what could happen. He says, first off, these 503 and 582 engines do not have a flywheel of sufficient mass to regulate the engine. As soon as he said that, a light went off in my head. I'm going, uh-oh. And I said that, uh-oh. And he says, yeah, uh-oh. If you don't have a flywheel on these two-stroke engines, you run a 99.9% chance, there's that number, of the engine going into a runaway mode. And what does that mean? Well, just what it simply says. It means that at idle, it'll be idling very fast. Instead of, say, 2,000 RPM, it could be idling like 4,500, and the carbs are closed. And then the second you blip their throttle to see what's going on here, what happens is that engine races up to 2, 3, 4 times its maximum RPM and destroys itself. Because there's no flywheel, no mass to regulate that energy. It's free running. He says it just goes wild. And then he told me a story about a fellow who did just that, bolted the engine to a workbench, started it up, and going, wow, it's running really fast. He blipped the throttle, and the thing raced. Explosions, fire. He burned half his garage down, and it was actually a pretty funny story. Funny in one way, horrible for the guy that it happened to. So, a runaway engine is a very, very, very bad thing, and if you don't have a flywheel on that engine, well, it's going to run away on you. and there isn't sufficient mass in the stator or the fans or anything else to act as a flywheel. He says you have to have the prop on it. I thought, yeah. Somebody in the comments, and I'll put his name scrolling up here, somebody in the comments section back then said, no, you got to run it with the prop. And here I was like, no, I've done this countless times with motorcycle engines, car engines, lawnmower engines. But all those engines have one thing in common. They have a flywheel attached to them with sufficient mass so that you don't get a runaway acceleration, and it helps regulate the RPMs. The 503 and the 582, those are the only two that I know of right now, there may be others, they don't have a flywheel, and they will run away without a prop attached. So, whoever that is, and I'll have his name scrolling, you were right, I was dead wrong, and I would have blown up that engine had I started it without the prop, or come close to blowing it up anyway. I know I would have blown up. Kudos to you, my friend. You're 100% spot on, and I was way out to left field. So, where do I go from now? From here? Well, the answer to that question is pretty obvious. I got to mount the redrive, and I got to mount my prop onto this engine before I do startup. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do today in the hangar, mount the redrive and mount the prop, and make sure I don't have a runaway engine and blow the hell out of it. Yeah, lesson learned. Here, like I said, I've been doing this for decades, and I thought I knew what I was doing, but obviously, yeah, I didn't have the information or enough information on these engines to make that kind of a determination or decision. And yeah, so if you're watching this, I'm going to go back to the video that I talked about doing a run-up on the engine, and I'm going to put a card in it linking to this video that says, like, watch this video or something. So yeah, so this prop is going to get put on today, and well, the redrive first, and the belt drive, and then and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do that, and I'll probably record this and then cut it up into a montage. You know what a montage is? You know, that's where you get like little snippets, and there's music playing, and it's montage, kind of like Team America World Police montage. Now, those of you who know what I'm talking about will probably be laughing at your monitors. You know, montage, the song, anyways. Maybe I'll even try to find that music and put that in for the montage of me putting the redrive on and the belts and everything else and the prop. So, yeah, tragedy averted. And it would have been a tragedy. It would have been a spectacular explosion, I'm sure, as the engine tore itself to pieces and things probably would have gone flying. Yeah, tragedy averted. And yeah, a lesson to me as well. That says, you know, when one of my viewers says, hey, don't do this, and I do read all the comments, instead of saying, nah, I kind of know what I'm doing, maybe, and I'm big enough to admit this, maybe I should take a look at that advice and check it out first before I respond and say, I know what I'm doing. Hey, watch this. That ain't gonna happen. None of us watch this stuff. So, thank you again to those who made the comment, and again, I'm sure I put the names on there that scroll by. You guys are great, and you're looking out for me, and I appreciate that. And I'll try to make sure that I don't screw up as I go along with this. So, yeah, it's on with the show, and we'll start with mounting this redrive onto the engine. But before I do that, I know this is already almost a 10-minute monologue, or maybe a little longer. I mentioned a few other things that I spoke to Bob Robertson about at the light engine service in Seminar, BC. Well, let me bring you up to date on that. Some of you might recall when I was talking about this oil reservoir and you know, with the valve business here and how wonky this thing was, and how I mentioned that, you know what, I really don't like this reservoir, this plastic reservoir. I mean, it's not that I don't like it, I just think there's something better, and there is. And it's on its way. Again, Bob Robertson from Small Engine Service in Seminar, BC, he makes an aluminum tank that's aerodynamic, that fits up top where this one would fit. And he says it holds, supposed to hold 3 liters. It actually holds 2.8, and he kind of explained why. But anyways, 2.8 liters of 2-stroke oil. And it mounts to the top, comes with the whole kit with everything, the hoses and everything else, and gets rid of this plastic that kind of sits up there and shakes around the place. So I ordered that, and in Canadian dollars, it's like $200, $199 or something, kit with all the stuff that you need to mount it, install it, rivets, the whole works. Excellent, good stuff. So that is a go. This is going to be retired. 1 second here. That's one thing that's being changed on this engine. Is that reservoir. It's on its way. It's not here this weekend, but it'll probably be around for next week or next weekend's work period here at the airplane. And then I asked him a question. I asked Bob a question about the pulse fuel pump. More specifically, does it ever need to be rebuilt? I remember reading something about it in the manual about you know, annual inspections and rebuilds and that kind of stuff. And he says, yeah, it says usually every 3 to 5 years you rebuild it. I says, oh, okay. What does it involve? He says, oh, a couple rubber parts and little valves and then or whatever. It's just a couple parts, and it was like 25 bucks Canadian. Really? That cheap? Add it to the order with the oil tank. So I'm going to be doing a rebuild on the fuel pump. He says it doesn't take long. It's like a 10-minute job, and you're just swapping out parts. And I figured since this thing has been sitting, well, now it's going to be pushing 8.5 or 9 years. The possibility of dry rot on the rubber parts is extremely high. So I'm going to do a quick rebuild on that pump, and let me swing you guys around here and just show you what I'm talking about. Which pump we are talking about is this one here. That's the pulse pump. That's the that provides the fuel to the engine while the engine's running, and yeah, I'm sure most of you could figure that part out. So pulse pump is going to be rebuilt. Takes a few minutes, and so when those parts arrive as well. And then there's one other concern I had, and when I was talking to him about the oil reservoir, and he said, "No, you don't need that." And what is it that I don't need? Well, this shutoff valve that I was fitting onto this plastic tank on here, this shutoff valve, I put it on here because I found that the float bowls had 2-stroke oil that leaked down into them. And he said, no, you don't need that. He says, if you've got 2-stroke oil leaking into the carburetor over time when the engine hasn't been running, what it is says that one of the check valves from your oil pump is not closing, and it's allowing oil to trickle past it into the carburetors, and what you need to do is replace those check valves. And just where are these check valves located? Is it in the oil pump? He says, no, it's those banjo bolts that the tubing gets crimped onto. They have check valves built into them. No. Let me show you. Okay, this banjo bolt here, there's one on either side, that comes out of the oil pump, it has a little valve in there. I guess it must be a little ball bearing on a spring or something. And as you can see, this thing is already got oil leaking out of it, whereas this one here doesn't. The one on the back doesn't. I don't know if you can see that or not on the camera, but this one's got some blue oil in it. So that means that check valve has failed. What you do is you replace the banjo bolt. So I ordered one for either side. Figure as one's gone, the other's about to go anyways. And I just got to cut this off, put the new banjo bolts on with the check valves, and have the tubing recrimped, and problem solved. I don't need a shut-off valve for the oil. That valve there, the check valve, is supposed to put just enough pressure so that it doesn't trickle in. But when the oil pump is running, that's producing more pressure, it pushes, obviously it'll push that little ball bearing out with a weak spring, and it'll get the oil past it. Great. So yeah, that's coming too. And they're like $30, $35 a side, so it's like 60, 70 bucks Canadian. He said they don't fail often, but you can tell when they fail because so you start getting oil kind of leaking into the carburetor all the time. And you don't need to change both of them, just need to change the one that's bad, but I'm changing both anyways, and be done with that. So there we go. That's the update for right now, and I'm going to go and mount the redrive now and get that on, and get the prop on, and get that all set up and ready, and then I shall close off this video afterwards. So more of me with a monologue updating you what's going on, but it's kind of important. Need to tell you what's going on, especially that part about running the engine without a flywheel, or in this case a prop that is the flywheel, and how that's a big no-no. You learn something new every day. Alrighty, so there we go. Oh, and this is like quite a ways in the video, but like and subscribe if you you know, like what you see, and you can help me out with that kind of stuff. Great. So pitter patter, let's get at her.
What follows is a brief construction montage.
And we're gonna need a montage. Ooh, it takes a montage.
We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed that brief construction montage. So, as you can see, the reduction gear drive is in, adjusted, torqued down, Loctite on the threads, and wired, safety wires, and it's done. So the prop is now on the engine. Oh, I also ordered the engine fogging system as well, and all of that stuff. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier in my long monologue at the beginning, but I ordered the engine fogging system as well, and talking to Bob Robertson out west, on the west coast, he said, yeah, great idea, absolutely. The guy out in Ontario, his dealer out in Ontario is the one that makes them, so I'm going to be getting that from the Ontario dealer. He's shipping it out to me, and I'm going to install that as well. So anyways, that's it for the updates. Thank you very much for following along here in the hangar, and hope you got something out of this, especially with my correction that I had to make, ergo the prop is now on. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, like and subscribe, hit that ring-a-dingy bell, and God bless you, and keep your stick on the ice, and we'll see you again here in the hangar. Bye for now.
Dodged a bullet on that one. Yeah, never run the engine without a prop. At least not these two-stroke engines. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.